Tanks of vodka, Slipso, Rocka Ock, Rip Rhyme since the days. Frankie Crocker Rock. I think that's how that Avalanche song goes. Welcome to Nerds Gone Rogue. This is a B-side bonus. It's December. It's the end of 2018. And I've gotten a couple friends together to talk about things that happened game-wise this year. From the Secret Friends Unite, we have the wonderful co-progenitor of Nerds Gone Rogue, Todd Oxter. How are you, sir?
Very good, Matthew. Good to be here.
And then for you movie nerds out there, from the movie The Right Stuff, we have Jose Jimenez, better known as the guy that James Coburn was trying to be his entire life. How are you, sir?
How's it going? Doing well.
So 2018, right?
It's crazy year.
Year of the new millennium.
Yeah, it's exactly that. That's not an opinion.
That's a deep cut right there.
That's how math works.
Oh my goodness.
So we're basically gonna have a little talk, and then Todd and Jose are going to unveil to the world their favorite games of the year. Nerds Gone Rogue will do its official game of the year, and so I could just talk and abstain. It's kind of nice. So overall, personally, how was 2018 for you guys? How did it shape up? Good, bad? What were some highs? What were some lows? Whoever wants to start, go right ahead. This is a conversation.
Video game wise, excellent year. I, in my opinion, great games out there. I constantly found myself with just too much to play, which is, woe is me,
Oh, yeah. These first world problems.
I know, right? But, personally and stuff, here towards the end of the year, it wasn't so great about a month ago. It wasn't an accident and stuff, but fully recovered now and stuff and ready to get back into it.
Good.
Awesome.
But yeah, man. So, ready to end the year with a bang.
Word. Todd, thoughts?
Good year. I mean, video games are excellent, and I'm always behind. So, like, even the games that came out last year, I am, finally catching up with them as well. So, but awesome year of games. Really loved it. And personally, awesome year. My wife's with to finish her master's. I'm starting a new role, actually, in January. It was supposed to be December, so at work. So, very excited about that. So, very good year.
Cool. Congratulations to you and the missus. My partner finished her master's. By the time this goes up, she will actually be done with school. She's super happy.
Fantastic.
And now wedding planning can start. So she's super excited for that. Yeah, good year. I'm finally down to one job, which is always that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Now I just have to adjust to working overnights, which is going slowly but surely. Moving on, how do you think the year has been for games? Like, I know you guys just answered this, but we can go a little bit more. We can go a little deeper if we want. And what games seem to keep your attention the most? Like, what type of games?
Well, obviously, Red Dead's got a lot of people's attention right now, especially with this online.
Which I have yet to touch.
It's great. I mean, I did have some issues last night, though. If you want to get deeper into that a little bit later, but as far as games that are keeping my attention, there's just so many games right now, like good ones, that it's hard to just devote myself to just one because I'm just like, I want the next great thing, So I'm jumping back and forth and stuff, and I guess I would say all of them are kind of keeping my attention right now.
Yeah. A lot of varying shapes and sizes of games too. Like a lot of really big ones, a lot of really tiny ones that were actually worth more people's time than not this year. Todd, I stepped on you. I apologize.
Oh no, that's fine. I've got a Sony 13, so my gaming time really is dictated on what he's already not abusing and using. So he plays PC because he likes hack games, and so then I'll go over to the PS4. And then if if he wants to play the PS4, Fortnite, whatever, I'll go on the PC. So I'm going a little bit back and forth, and I'm playing old games on PC because I have a Steam library that won't quit. And then PS4 is where I play my AAA console games. I mean, that's part of that system with PS4 Pro HD TV. It's beautiful. My PC, it's a gaming laptop, but my monitor is ultra wide that will only do 1440p or whatever, but still love it. But yeah, I mean, and I am struggling because when I looked at my list, I'm like, you know what? It's not been for me. It's been the Switch has been a very quiet console this year for me. I've done a lot of the games that people recommend on the indie side, and nothing has grabbed me. Although that will change once I download Guacamelee 2 on Switch because
Guacamelee 2 is really good. Guacamelee 2 is really good. Yeah, Switch has been kind of quiet for me too. Like I rebought a Vita recently just because I have a Spelunky problem. But yeah, the Switch had a awesome coming out party last year, and it's just been it's been slow for them this year. And I think there was a while back Nintendo had some projections like they weren't happy with how like Black Friday went, but also like their first proper year in existence, they released their two biggest franchises. So, right now the next spike will be, it's probably, I don't remember when Smash is supposed to come out. If it's
tomorrow.
It comes out tomorrow. So yeah, that'll probably be the next big spike in Nintendo purchases, but what will it do for 2018? I know one of the last times you were on, you were talking about you and your son playing Undertale.
Well, he loved Undertale and absolutely just dove in. I said that was something I would like to explore and try. I totally failed on my end, and it's on Switch right now, so I'm like, maybe that's what I should do. But
I was actually going to say they've started releasing the sequel to it called Deltarune.
Oh yeah.
And they're just doing it in chapters. And I don't have a PC, but I know you were talking about how you and your son really liked it. So put that on your radar.
I actually downloaded that already, but I've been having some PC woes. And I have to put digs on Lee Navarro because he is such a PC, aficionado. He rebuilds the system every 3 years. But it seems like anytime I try my PC, something's horribly wrong. So I'm like, you gotta love the pain to be a PC owner because guess what? There's no smooth experience. You're constantly tweaking. Playing Witcher 3 the other day, it was running at like 10 frames per second or something. I'm like, what the heck happened?
No.
Wow, those stop motion AAA games. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so now getting into the meat and potatoes here. What games do you think were disappointments this year?
Ooh.
Well, right now it seems to be Fallout 76.
Yeah.
I personally, I'm having fun with it.
Yeah, I feel like Fallout 76 is getting the No Man's Sky treatment.
Definitely feels that way,
and it's unfair. But also a lot of those folks defending Fallout 76. This is how I felt when No Man's Sky came out. And I'm like, it's really good. And then you're like, oh, but it doesn't have.
Yeah.
And like but I was sitting there going, it doesn't need. Now all that has actually been put into No Man's Sky, and I've yet to go back and try that stuff, but I will.
Oh, it's great now.
Yeah,
it's great now. I definitely felt the same way how you felt with No Man's Sky, where I could see the potential there. The release, they kind of flubbed it, and totally did not meet expectations. And I feel that's the same thing with Fallout 76 right now. But I am enjoying it. It is with I guess I enjoy it more with friends. I've tried to play it by myself. It is super janky, and it makes it tough to play by yourself. But when you're with a group of friends and you're experiencing that jank and stuff, it's kind of fun sometimes, because you're just it just makes things funny.
Yeah.
But they definitely should have waited. It definitely they knew that there was something wrong with this game when they released it.
Yeah, there's definitely that, but also I think they're flubbing it in different ways because No Man's Sky they said next to nothing about it, so it set everybody's imaginations running wild. Whereas
Yeah.
this, they said, oh, by the way, this is this, and people were already angry at it, so it was definitely at a disadvantage months prior to release.
Yeah.
And then it sucks that like Bethesda is making a lot of back end mistakes.
These nylon bags too.
Yeah,
That's not a good thing.
It's one thing to I've backed a bunch of board games on Kickstarter, and anyone who's never backed anything on Kickstarter, let me tell you this: nothing is ever done on time. Nothing is ever done when the Kickstarter is projected. Especially a funded Kickstarter, because the things that I have funded have been super overfunded. Like Dark Souls, the board game, it got 1,000% of what they wanted. So that's way too many backers for them to, and way too many stretch goals for them to ever have the chance to get done on time.
Yeah, and there's games and other things that was it L Chasers Nightmare when that went to Kickstarter. The Joe Majura, who's the art director for that game, he's still fulfilling all of the extras from the Kickstarter campaign. Still fulfilling all the extras, and that's where I kind of wish they wouldn't do the extras like that, because I think what it does is it distracts from the main focus, which is getting them a game out on time. It extracts their money. You almost kind of wish they would stop doing that. I know it's extra money in their bank, but once they're funded, I don't know. I think it distracts them from the focus.
Well, the one difference with Kickstarter is you're getting constant updates from the people who took your money. Which is one thing I like. And whereas Bethesda, they're just like, oh, we're releasing this and you'll get it when you get it, fine. But then they're also failing to deliver what they promised. At least with the Binding of Isaac card game, I'm getting updates saying, hey, this is where we're at. Some people have already gotten their games. That's because they didn't have any of the stretch goals or they didn't order any of the add-ons. So they're pretty forthright in saying we're trying to get everybody one shipment rather than shipping out 4 or 5 things, and having the potential to lose more. And like with Dark Souls, the card game, I got the actual game and then all of the expansions I just finished getting. Now that game was launched on Kickstarter 3 years ago. The board game shipped a year and a half ago, and then within the last 4 months, I got the actual expansions. But the difference in this case is like Steam Forged is letting you know where the process is. Whereas Fallout 76, they basically said, yeah, we ran out of resources, so you're getting nylon bags. Sorry, y'all. Oh, and by the way, we sent all of these influencers that are going to talk positively about their games the canvas bags y'all wanted. So
you ran out of canvas? Oh my God, we've got a canvas crisis. Ah!
Yeah, I know, right? And it's just like,
And to add on top of that, now there's a personal info data leak when people were claiming their canvas bags.
They're like, oh, I can open up a ticket. Oh, what's this guy's credit card information?
Yeah.
Microtransactions just got a little more fun now. It's great. And Bethesda's published. I mean, and I was full bore gonna buy Fallout 76 until about a month before release. The only reason I backed out is because I knew too many other things coming out. I'm like, okay, of these things, what can I wait for a sale on? And Fallout is one of my favorite franchises, but Fallout 76 I'm gonna wait on that one just because I don't want it to come out and then have to wait because I know Bethesda's shit's buggy anyway.
Well, it'll be a better game. Anything online like that always gets better over time.
Yeah.
And it just seems to me you are open, and they even published that letter saying, hey, this is not going to go very well. We know that. So buyer
Hmm.
beware. You're fans of us. So and I played the beta. And after I played the beta, I knew that game was not for me. I think it's right for certain people if you have a lot of friends that you're always going to play online with. But for
Yeah.
me, I've heard it for a few people. The single player content works still, but you have to be okay with no NPCs guiding you in quests and that type of behavior. It's really audio logs and things like that, kind of like Bioshock. But for me, the combat. I don't know if Fallout works really well as an action game without VATS being real time pausing versus
Yeah.
in this game there's no real VATS in the game. It does a little bit, you can use VATS, but it's not pause. So ultimately it's because it's an online game, you can't pause everybody else, which would be funny if they did. That would be absolutely heavy because it'd be like every 5 seconds you're stopped. So
Yeah.
but yeah, to me it's
Because
I don't think Bethesda makes great shooting action games in that type of mode. So for me, the
they
gameplay just
published some good
mechanics. It
ones
doesn't.
though.
Well, yes, but to me, the gameplay of this just to me it if I'm going to do like a first person shooter, I want to be the best first person shooter. And there, it's not the same way. It's very clunky, feels very unpolished in that type of
Hmm.
game. So for me, removing that's to me just said right there, this game's not for you, Todd. Walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. But overall though, you're having fun with it, Jose?
Yeah, overall, I could see I mean, it definitely has issues. I'm not gonna be here and pretend like there's
Oh,
no
yeah, no,
issues
I mean
with
it's a
it.
Bethesda game. You sort of know
Yeah,
issues are built
exactly.
in.
I,
So
I was expecting, bugs and glitches and stuff, although there was more than what I was expecting.
hmm.
As far as the no NPCs things, I think that kind of the message kind of got lost there and stuff because this is Fallout 76 and these are supposed to be the first people leaving
The
the
vaults.
vault. So there wouldn't be any NPCs out there, because so the I guess the NPCs are the robots out there. They're
Yeah.
the ones
Yep.
giving you missions. The terminals are giving you missions. So
Hmm.
there's kind of like a confusion there when they say like no NPCs because people that haven't played the game and want to jump on that hate bandwagon and stuff don't know that there is certain characters that give you missions. There's just not any actual people because you're the first ones out of the vaults after the bombs.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
but
and I also think
oh,
the potential's there too. Like they could add to it.
yeah,
NPCs will probably come.
they just need to get that, the servers running right and smooth and stuff, and it should be fine. Uh, Anybody that's ever played Fallout 4 and thought to themselves, this would be cool if I played it with my friends or something like that, this is totally for them. If you didn't enjoy Fallout 4, if you didn't, consider that, maybe an online portion would make this better, it's definitely not for you
Yeah.
because that's basically what it is. You're just out there grinding for gear and stuff with some friends, and does get tedious and stuff, especially when you're alone because the map is 4 times bigger than the one from Fallout 4.
Hmm.
So if you're out there by yourself, you're gonna be out there for a while all alone.
It's a
Yeah, and there's
long
only like
walk.
28 people. I think there's only 28 people allowed per
Yeah,
server or whatever
and you rarely
instance.
run
So
into them.
exactly. So I think it would be interesting because I always thought Skyrim would be great, like a co-op game. But we got the Elder Scrolls Online. But I'm like, what if they just made it a co-op game,
Mhm.
massively multiplayer? Just you and your buddy could go and go on a mission together. I think that'd be fun. I don't want to run into other dorks around the world. I don't know who's gonna keep stabbing at me, and I'm like, leave me alone. Don't really hurt me.
Yeah.
But maybe they went a little bit too far right away because I think a lot of people would just like a nice co-op, online co-op game like with Skyrim or something like that, and they go at and be, you know, who knows?
Yeah. Then eventually you get that co-op game. You're like, man, why can't we just go and kill people?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Bring back Army of Two.
yeah, I know, right?
uh,
Now I'll just ask a question just because I think Red Dead, and this is just my personal thing. Red Dead made a great first impression on me, but then it became more of a bummer as playing went on.
mm,
Any thoughts there?
yeah. I definitely agree with you on that. When I first started playing, you go through that first scene. It's dark and the snow and whatnot. I'll try to keep it spoiler free and stuff, but
Yeah.
um, I was definitely impressed. Like right away, you could tell, man, look at the visuals here.
Oh, yeah, I was like,
It, it,
whoa,
it's
this is.
it's amazing. It blew me out of the water and stuff, and it looked great. I'm thinking to myself, I'm in for a great ride here, and then it just dragged on and dragged on and dragged on, and by the time I got to chapter 5, I was getting ready to put it down and take a little break because it was just, I mean, you could spend forever in that game. There's so much to do. I'm glad I kind of stuck it out. And once I got to chapter 5, that was kind of like the turning point for me. And, you know, if for anybody out there that's feeling that drag, just try to stick it out. That's a great story and great ending and stuff, and it pays off in the end. But it definitely does uh, take your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to chapter 2, spent about 3 or 4 hours in chapter 2, and said, "This game is not for me." It's me. It really. I don't have a lot of gaming time, so for me, the fun part of a game is not the downtime. Game is a lot of downtime, and that's I understand
Definitely.
the whole point of the game is to reward you for that. I mean, I love a rewarding film, but a rewarding film is only 3 hours long. This is. I mean, I'm spending a long time just riding my horse, and I can put in cinematic mode me and I can run into other people. But to me, it's like I could do this. Or I could play 5 other games that might give me other completely different experiences in that time. And to me, that's more what I would like to do. Plus, I didn't like the gameplay, the mechanics. To me, Red Dead, I don't think has great mechanics. I think they make great worlds you live in, and great experiences. But to me, the shooting mechanics aren't great. The horse riding mechanics aren't great. Like I'm playing Witcher right now. I love the horse riding Witcher. It's fantastic. So for me, they don't do anything great from a gameplay mechanic, but their worlds are really what sets them apart. Their storytelling is fantastic. And if I had all the free time in the world, I would probably dig into it. But for me, it's like, and I don't even really like Westerns that much. So to me, it's like there's just not enough to me to say, okay, that's cool. But I'm hearing so many cool stories that people say about this game. Like they're finding this huge skeleton. It's like, what the hell is that from? And they're finding other things. I heard there might be vampires in this game. I'm like, that's really cool. So I'm glad that they're rewarding people with all these cool ideas and stories. But I've gotten to the point now, I'm 43 years old. It's okay not to like every game. It's okay not to be excited about it. Because if you are, if you try to, you will never be able to do everything. I like to watch movies, TV, read books, do other things, hang out with my son. And so gaming, I have to kind of find the games that work for me while still experimenting, but not be afraid to quit a game very short. So I ended up selling the game to a friend of mine. I was good to go with that.
Yeah. I agree with you, Todd. With the Red Dead's definitely not a game for people that want to put in short spurts of time into a game and stuff. This is for the people that have the time. And like you said too, the mechanics, it didn't blow me away or anything. It's pretty standard GTA mechanics. The shooting was kind of the same from GTA. It's got that auto aim on and everything, but the world is fantastic. The story was great and stuff, and I think that's what really, pulls people in and stuff, and they can kind of overlook some of the gameplay mechanics by all that other stuff that makes it great,
Yeah.
Isn't it funny we have a hobby that you have to be good at? It's not like a book. You don't have to be good at reading. I mean, you have to know how to read. You don't have to be great at watching things. It's good to know. I mean, you watch. Nobody is a great watcher. You may not be a great, receiver of the information in the story, but gaming, you have to be good at games. And that's weird. It's like all these other hobbies. I don't sit there with my wife and I'm looking at her. I'm like, I'm watching this better than you are. So
look at me.
Weird.
Look at
hobby.
me. Look at me. I'm so good at reading Infinite Jest and its confusing narrative.
Weird hobby.
Takes a particular set of skills.
Yeah,
it does.
and to that point, like I think Red Dead. I got to chapter 3 and I have kind of petered out on Red Dead. I don't think Red Dead is a bad game. It's just to the point where it's just like I know that everything that pops up now is going to come with a certain need to do several other things, and it's game of the year time, so I have other stuff that I wanted to at least try before finalizing my top 10. And Red Dead is really in the way of that. So I'm just like, okay, I know what this is, so I'm out. So I have to try and get to all that I have not gotten to. And I think Red Dead is a like Jose said, it's freaking beautiful to look at. I think Arthur Morgan is a fantastic character. In fact, I think a lot of the gang in the game are fantastically written characters. I can respect the choices Rockstar made with both world construction and around the mechanics. Like everything it has to be deliberate. It's so deliberate to the point where it's easy to make mistakes, which is kind of annoying. Where you can walk into town and you want to talk to this guy, but you hit the wrong button. Now all of a sudden you've killed 17 people because you're trying to get away from the cops.
You accidentally kicked the dog.
This prospector out there in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, oh shit, I killed him. Oh, okay,
yeah.
Well, I'll take your shit.
I mean, and then the incidental things where you're right. Like, I think the one thing that everybody has seen now is where you're riding down whatever road, you see a guy who's struggling with his horse, and you're like, hey, you need some help. And then all of a sudden the horse kicks the guy in the face and he's just dead. Which is still like one of the funniest things I've seen. Because like I was just like going, oh, that horse is gone. He's
all those random moments in the game. It just what makes it great, you know.
And like that emergent stuff is really cool. And like I mean, the fact that second day in, Jose mentioned people finding weird stuff. Like I found aliens in the game. I didn't want to I found the aliens in Red Dead. It was crazy, and not like the physical aliens, but like I had this ship happen. There's
this just all those little random things on the that just happened throughout the world is what kind of pulled me off track, you know, from the
Chiliano cult. I found them too. Like I'm just like, man, this is.
That's where they get you. All those side quests. You find a guy, just start talking to him, and you're like, oh, he's a creeper. I better kill him.
Well, yeah. But like I think the tapestry that is the world is kind of a testament to Rockstar's ability. You know, and I'm also a person who was aware of like all the occupational stuff that Rockstar let out of the bag early on. Or earlier, and I wasn't a fan of that. I had some things to say about that, but I also understand the inherent hypocrisy of picking up that game despite all that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, and I hope that the people working on that game are getting a fair share. That's really all I have to say. So, are there any games you guys regret missing?
I think that every game that I've wanted to play this year, I've managed to play them and stuff. Because even even some of the games that I was kind of like about it, I just gotta try them. I gotta try it for myself. I feel like too many people just rely on what reviews, you know, and make their decisions based on that. It's good to get an opinion and kind of get an idea what the game is about and stuff, but to just solely base your decision on just that, I like to give them all a try and stuff, and then make that decision for myself. So I don't feel like I regretted missing any out, because I didn't really miss anything out.
For me, it was Call of Cthulhu. People that I know that like a certain style of game told me it was a not miss game. I'm like, crap. And it just came at the wrong time.
It just showed up.
Well, when you're going to make a spooky game, I don't understand why do you drop it in November or like October 30th? No, you drop that game in September so people can start talking about it, so then it'll get people interested to get in that game. So then it's like, oh, October. I like playing scary games in October because it's fun. And I totally missed it. And I played the old Call of Cthulhu on the original Xbox. I have it on Steam. It's horrible. I mean, it was great.
Are you talking about the new one or
no? This is the original one. So I mean, the new one I want to play, but I decided, okay, I'm not going to play the new one yet, but I'll go back and see if my remembering of this old original Xbox game still holds up. It does not. It's muddy. It's ugly. The gameplay's not very good. It looks like Kingpin. Remember that game Kingpin, where
Oh
everybody was like
God.
kind of like huge and bulky,
Yeah.
but then they look like Cthulhu characters. So it's
Mhm.
very weird. But the new one I heard is fantastic, and it's just like an investigation game, but it's pretty cool. So that's a game that kind of just hit me at the wrong time, and it's like I think game developers need to be smarter where they drop their games, because there wasn't a game like Cthulhu that was happening in September.
Right.
It's not really fighting with those other big games. So for me, it just came out the wrong time, because I could have used that game in September.
Yeah, or you release it in September, you get the reviews out for better or worse, and you drop it for a Halloween
Mm-hmm.
sale, like things like that. I
Yeah.
mean, and I don't know the business logistics that go with that, but there are definitely better ways to do it. I missed that game as well. I missed it for a different reason. Like, I had heard about it, and because, like, I'm a Bloodborne fan. I'd also never really read H.P. Lovecraft before this year. And then when I read it, I read a collection of short stories because that's mostly what the dude wrote. I realized some things about his work that didn't sit well with me. So I'm like, I might wait on Call of Cthulhu. But I also recognize that in the modern lexicon of horror, like, no one directly quotes H.P. Lovecraft. They just ape like the style.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
H.P. Lovecraft the man was a pretty vile racist, and his stories are pretty vilely racist.
Yeah.
And classist, and like, if you're not a wasp, you're basically one of these cosmic horror beings that are unexplainable, and we don't like them. It's real problematic. Now, structurally, I mean, honestly, like, it's the first book I've ever read, or first literature I've ever read, that was like watching Birth of a Nation, where you're like, man, I can see all the stuff at work here and how influential it is, but this is really difficult.
Well, if you want something that's like Lovecraft, I would call Lovecraftian, Matt. I don't know if you ever saw the movie In the Mouth of Madness.
I have.
Yeah, that's kind of a fun type of
Mhm.
that influence, and makes you think, and it's got some interesting mythology for a movie that I think a lot of people weren't expecting.
Well, I saw, speaking of Kickstarter again, there's a game on Kickstarter called Lore Finder,
Mm.
or at least I don't know how close to it. Its campaign might actually be over, but it's a side-scrolling platformer Metroidvania that does a lot of the cosmic horror stuff. It has the insight mechanic from Bloodborne, where the more insight you have, the more it kind of messes with you. And like, I appreciate those aspects of Lovecraft, but like, the man was the man sucked. He was a shithead. Which, and like, eventually I will hopefully lose that taste and get back and get to Call of Cthulhu, because that game was really what said, hey, Matt, you've never read this guy, you should read this guy. And a lot of people revere him. And now I realize why you never hear direct quotes of H.P. Lovecraft, and no one makes like an H.P. Lovecraft, story a film, because yeah, don't do it. I also, like, I miss things just because of platform, mostly. Like, I only really play on PS4 and Switch. So games like BattleTech, which is like a mech version, which has a lot to do with XCOM, but just mechs and strategy and stuff like that. I miss that because I don't have a PC. I didn't get to try. I think Frostpunk came out this year. And that's a cool little strategy game. I'll miss out on Deltarune until it comes to consoles, which hopefully it does. I think there were rumors that Kentucky Route Zero was finally going to be finished this year. Like, they were finally,
and it's coming to Switch, right?
Yeah, it's coming everywhere as soon as it's done. But the final episode they haven't released yet. So I've missed that up to this point. Until it comes to consoles, I probably won't have it, because I don't know. I want to build a PC, but I just money. It's either that or deal with getting married, and I'm pretty sure my fiance would not like to kill me.
And then you'll spend your whole time fixing your PC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in hell where I belong. So we'll move to our penultimate category or penultimate little topic here. What was the biggest surprise gaming wise for you guys?
Oh boy.
Man, this is a tough one.
Yeah, that is a tough one. You
want me to start so you guys can think?
Well, I will go back to a game. It's only a surprise because I kind of swore off the series, but when it came back and released on Switch, I know this isn't about I guess we could call it a 2018 game because it's re-released there, but Bayonetta 2.
Okay.
I played it on the Wii U for some reason. Something was like, I get it, and it just not clicking with me. Just seems like too much. But then, and I'm like, you know what? There's something about that game, and I love Devil May Cry and those games like that, stylish shooters. And I went back and played it, and I realized that the narrative is horrible. The guy who's like Joe Pesci, who's dropping way more F-bombs that should be on a Nintendo console. And
yeah. It's like
weird.
It's like a 13-year-old who wants to be edgy.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely speaks. It almost feels like, oh, what if Ninja Gaiden tried to be classier? With Itagaki trying, wacky things with his ladies. But who knows?
Yeah, we're adults. Fuck.
Exactly.
Adult,
Let me put my sunglasses on, and that makes me look awesome and cool.
Yeah.
Your leather jacket. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Bayonetta 2. Hey, I was just so happy I rediscovered that. So Bayonetta 3 has me very happy. So the Switch is definitely one of those games where you can recatch games if you missed them the first time.
Yeah. I mean, I was all set to have Into the Breach be on one of my regrets for missing, but then Into the Breach came out on Switch, and I was able to play it. So, Jose, surprises for you this year?
Well, I guess my surprise would be. I'm guessing we're going to get into this in the next segment, but is my pick of game of the year.
Okay.
Which is
you want to just save that then? We'll talk about it when we get there.
Well, the only thing that I would want to say that it's a surprise is that although it's not going to be a surprise that many people picked this as their game of the year, I was surprised that out of all the good games that came out around it, that I would thought might surpass it in terms of like quality and gameplay and stuff, didn't. And it's such a change from its previous games. If you might know what I'm going for is.
I have like 5 guesses, and I'm pretty sure.
I have one guess. Yeah, I have one guess.
I'm pretty sure all of them could be wrong.
Yeah. Just based on the previous games, the quality of them, although they weren't the best games, they still did well and everything. But just the quality of this one, the reboot, is just surprised me, and that's why I picked it.
Well, I know who's leading off our next segment. My biggest surprise this year has actually been it's been a few things. One was Spider-Man. Like that game's like I'm not. Todd and I've had this discussion. Like I'm not like the superhero guy, but I feel like they made a fantastic video game around a superhero story. But the biggest thing overall has been virtual reality. Like I tried it a few years ago when I went to upstate New York to do Phoenix Overdrive's Extra Life, and I thought like I sat down with the controller and the headset on. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. And when I'd watched things come out, and there were games that I wanted to try in VR, like Res Infinite, Thumper. What else am I thinking of? I wanted to actually play more of Eve Valkyrie because that's what I played up there. But then, like when I heard about Astrobot earlier this year, and people were saying that like that is VR's like Super Mario 64, not necessarily like it's not exactly like Super Mario 64, but like what Super Mario 64 did for video games, like Astrobot does for VR. So I'm like, okay, I have to try that. And then when I played Tetris Effect, when I played it the day it came out, I'm like, okay, this and everything I want to play in VR. It's time to purchase. And then the Black Friday deal happened. I got the one with the Move controllers, Super Hot, and Creed. Creed, I don't know if I'll ever actually play, but hey, I have it, so maybe one day. But virtual reality is a really big surprise, and I even like Reba, my fiance. She's like, "Hey, can I try it on?" She tried it on while I was playing Tetris, and I'm like, "Okay, well, we're gonna go into theater mode, and you can just watch." And so basically, you go into the environment, and you can basically interact with it as if you're playing. So like you see like what every button prompt does, and you can look around and see how far out they rendered everything, and like it is. Holy crap! That is a thing people should do, especially that game because it's so chill and positive. But virtual reality is my biggest surprise.
Man, I was thinking about this. It's amazing. There's this, and I've heard this from a lot of people. They say Sony doesn't promote it. They're not putting out big games, and I'm like, this isn't exactly like just making a regular game and putting it out. VR is a completely different way of making games and the experience. You can't just put out like Lucky's Tale, which is a platformer that you basically play in VR. It's nothing, and you can actually play that game outside of VR, so it's not really made for VR. It's a game you can do it in, versus Astrobot, which is made for VR. And it's funny that it's just this negative connotation. I just think that people feel are a little afraid of it. It's something new, and it's almost like people saying that's not my video games. So they kind of are trying to give it, either ignore it or say it's dying. But I saw so many people saying I'm getting into the VR hype train this year because it was affordable finally, and the library has some compelling games, and just all the games I'm hearing about it, and the PlayStation VR. It's got a huge catalog, I would say, and they're always hyping up the next game that's coming out for the next game. And there's a lot that are, we're on Vive, we're on the other systems that are still coming to PlayStation VR as well. So I'm glad that it's doing well because I think it has so much potential, and this is phase one of it. That I just want to see what they do next because, they can improve the visuals, they can improve the actual screen technology, and that's only going to come though if people support it. And I don't know if you don't listen to it, but there's a podcast called DLC. Every episode they do dedicated VR, and the guy who hosted, Jeff Kanata, he is such a VR lover. It just gets you excited about it. So that's cool.
And I think I was talking about it with one of my best friends over Thanksgiving, and and I mentioned it, and just immediately he shuts down. Oh, gimmick, doesn't matter, blah blah blah. I'm like, I get I get it because I remember VR from the '90s too, and that was a shitty way to get $2 worth of quarters out of a kid who was playing games on his allowance. Yeah, that sucked, but like. I mean, I saw potential for it then. It just was impossible to realize at the time. Like now, I like as someone who has Astrobot but hasn't had a chance to play it yet because Tetris Effect. The potential there is way different now. And I mean, I said it on the main show that what I noticed when I played VR for the first time is that I played Valkyrie because I'm like, okay, this is a scenario I can keep myself grounded in because I'm just sitting in the cockpit of a spaceship, basically like Star Wars. That's how I went. I'm like, okay, I want to do an X-wing battle in Star Wars, so I'll do that. And I was tailing a guy, and he pulled off, but my head followed him. My controller stayed right here, and I used the controller to bring him back to where I was behind him, and it's just like that's where it clicked. I'm like, oh, that you can't do that when it's just a game and a screen. Now, is that the lights on moment that people need? I don't know, but it was the lights on moment that worked on me.
Yep.
And I recognized the potential for it. Now, in Tetris Effect, like it's just you're watching the game ahead of you, and you can if you have a moment to breathe, you can just sort of look around and see like how far they rendered out the world. I think the way that they structured the title screen where everything's in front of you, but there's also like Earth below you, and you could just sort of look around. And the when you complete journey mode, the credit sequence is amazing in VR, and it's also amazing not in VR. So I would just if anybody who they have a friend who has VR and you haven't tried it, try it. It's worth it. I mean, there are tons of different experiences too. Like Keep Talking and No One Explodes, I think is probably the easiest use case for anybody to get involved, because one person has the headset on and they have to dismantle a bomb, and the other person has to tell them how to dismantle the bomb. So you're like stuck there in VR while the other person's going, okay, do you see this? No, okay, this we have to figure out what you see. And then if you do take too long, you blow up.
Werewolves Within, Matt, I heard, is an excellent game, and it's very much a game where you try to figure out who's the werewolf.
Awesome.
So it's a fun little game. You should try it out.
Awesome.
So I actually want to throw out another surprise game that maybe went under the radar. Vampire, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, yeah.
Vampire with a Y.
I have that game and I haven't played it. That's a regret.
Yeah, that is a cool game, because they build it almost, at one point I thought, when I first heard about this game, I thought this was going to be just like a point and click adventure, talk to people, build a story.
Is this based on that Carl Theodor Dreyer movie from the 40s? Like...
No, and it's not. I don't think it's based by the White Wolf games.
It's a
Vampire
Danish,
Masquerade.
black and white movie.
Not so much. Yeah, no Nosferatu in this game. But no, I really enjoyed it, but it has some issues. I'm not going to say it's the best video game in the world. The combat's not the best, but I like what they did, and I think they stuck with their guns on building a world. The story's not fantastic, but the environment, the sound, the music, it's pretty cool. I really enjoyed it. So to me, I was glad that was a game. That was my October game, my spooky game this year. So I'm glad I got a chance to play it. I'm glad games like that come out that are trying different things and that aren't trying to be a AAA game. It's definitely a B tier game, and I'm glad they still make those.
Yeah, the B tier game, like indies are doing well, but there's still something to be said for that B tier when it's a middle, like Call of Cthulhu. That's a definitely a B tier game too. So hopefully those make a bit of a resurgence. Okay, so now, gentlemen, we're going to start with you, Jose. What is your game of the year and why?
Can we guess first?
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
I want to say Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
No. No. But it was a close. Okay, so it's God of War. It's. I was a fan of the originals. Played all of them. PSP, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2. But there was some fatigue there towards the end. And just the way they just rebooted it, and I played it, and obviously I was blown away, just like everybody else. And well, I would say the majority of people, they're blown away. Great game, great story, visuals, everything of it was top notch. I couldn't believe how great the reboot was. And then it came out, I played it, I went over, and then other games came out, Assassin's Creed, Red Dead, and I'm thinking all these games, they're gonna just kind of chip away at it, as my game of the year, and I'm gonna end up replacing it with something else. But somehow it endured up there on the top of my list. I just could not see, although all these other games were great, it just did not surpass that level for me of enjoyment, which that's how I feel for game of the year. For my decision is how much did I enjoy the game, and that's the one out of all the games that I played this year. That's the one that I couldn't wait to get back to. Like I would play it, and then next thing I know, it's been like 4 or 5 hours. My eyes are bloodshot, and I'm like, crap! I have to go to work in like 2 hours. And then so I go to work, and all day I'm just thinking, man, I can't wait to get back home and keep playing God of War. I want to see what's next.
I need to throw that axe at some fools and then bring it back. Yes, so good.
That axe felt so great. And then, I'm thinking, oh, bummer. the chains are gone, but they just did it for the fans.
That
Well, it's
moment,
been long enough,
that
but
moment when they did the chains. Oh my God,
man, yeah, it
that
was
was
great.
fantastic. How did that not get spoiled by anybody?
I'm
Well,
still shocked that didn't happen. Like
it
I'm
actually
still.
was spoiled to me by my
Mm,
son. He was
mm.
excited to play it too, so he started watching videos on YouTube, and he saw that moment in one of the videos, and he was so excited to tell me. And he runs into the kitchen. He's like, "Daddy, Daddy!" So guess what? Kratos gets his chains back, and I'm like, "No, why'd you tell me?"
And now you don't have a son.
Yeah, so
No,
I only have one kid.
Jose. Let's be real. You looked at him and went, "Boy."
Man. I wish I had
You've
an
made
axe,
me tired.
but no, it was great, and I almost got upset, but I know that he was just excited to see something
Yeah.
cool and stuff, so I try to just bottle it deep, deep, deep down inside, and
You're just like,
and
"There's no Santa Claus. There's no Easter Bunny."
but it was still great to experience it, even though I knew it was going to happen. Just the
Mhm.
it actually kind of made it a little bit better because the anticipation to get to that point, because I didn't know exactly when it was going to happen. So I was even excited to just figure out when that was going to happen. And, as it got closer, I kind of saw it coming, but it was still great. And I don't know. I mean, I can't wait there's obviously going to be another one.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for it. Everything, all the other games, big, honorable mentions to them. Assassin's Creed, Red Dead, just great games all around 2018. But
Hmm.
God of War he's the god right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, God of War was like I did not like the original games. And when this was announced, I agreed with what Jeff Gerstmann from Giant Bomb said about it. I referred to him as, oh great, now he's alcoholic dad Kratos.
Yeah,
and and as the more I saw that, I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to see how alcoholic dad Kratos deals with a son. And then I started playing it, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. They made the combat fun, and I even though like in the first games the combat was good, it was just a general hack and slash to
yeah,
me. Like
button masher.
yeah,
Yep.
it didn't seem like there was any strategy. All you just had to do was just keep going.
It looked badass, and that's all they
Yeah,
needed back on
yeah.
the
You
PS2.
had the streaky fire out of the chains and everything, but this
No sex minigame. Come on, guys.
Not this time around.
thank God for that. Although for some reason I thought, you know what, God of War is going to give it to Freya. I thought he was.
Oh,
I was waiting for it, and because of my experience with the series, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, when does this happen?
well, it happens in the sequel when he makes the boy a man.
Oh,
Man.
damn it, Todd. Oh boy.
We're having the talk, boy. Oh,
Do you know about? No, we're not doing this.
no.
But yeah, God of War is. They made Kratos a character rather than a stream of anger,
Yes.
which was really, it was something to behold, and it made me care about him in a way that I just hadn't prior. And
Yeah,
Atreus was cool too.
Oh yeah. A helpful
Mimir,
character. A kid who's not annoying in a game.
yeah, and an effective companion too in combat.
hmm
Once you get the hang of those arrows.
Yeah, he was a nice evolution of Ellie from The Last of Us.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the president's daughter in Resident Evil 4. Hide in a dumpster, chick.
Hide in the dumpster. Hold my bullets.
Yeah, I think just the change from the previous games is what did it for me. Assassin's Creed, that's it kind of did the same thing. People started getting fatigued on it, and they changed it up with Origins, and I feel like Odyssey just kind of improved on that and stuff. But to me, the story, although great, just kind of didn't really have to do with assassins. Just that. Although I don't want to spoil anything, there is stuff in the game that kind of like ties it in and everything. that's just kind of what brought it down just one tiny little notch for me to put it in second place. That would be my second place, I guess. But
Okay.
but I love it. It's a great game.
Well, I think the narrative around Assassin's Creed is no matter how much they change it, it's still Assassin's Creed.
Right.
I mean, I don't like the series. I'm not saying that to be derisory or pejorative, but also like God of War was not just another God of War game.
No.
Yeah.
Like I think Ascension to a degree, they're like, okay, yeah, we get it. God of War, great.
Yeah, and I will say this: Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the first Assassin's Creed game I really like. I've tried the others, and like it's just not for me. And this is the game that changed it for me. So I think it's because they basically said, "Let's make The Witcher in Assassin's Creed," because that's exactly what they did. So I'm like, I'm in.
All right. All right. So since you're in, Todd, what's your game of the year?
It's Celeste. No, just kidding. I have struck out with these indie Metroidvania roguelites this year. Celeste is not a roguelike, but it's
not even a Metroidvania.
No, it's Super Meat Boy with some very heavy issues. Is the best way I can call it.
Meat Boy,
yeah. So I have not had any luck with those games. Dead Cells, Hollow Knight, and Celeste fell completely flat for me, which is a shame because
I think if you had came to me and said, Matt, I'm going to play these games, I would have been like, Todd, don't. You're not going.
And that's the thing. I keep trying. So I like to say at least I'm experimental. I like to try things because there's always a game that potentially will break through. I don't like rogue-like games, but I loved Rogue Legacy. I loved the mechanic of your offspring have different abilities every time, so you never know what you're going to get. It's fun. Yeah. That's the fun for me because it was always different in regards to your main character being completely different. These other games, I should have known better. Once you say the term roguelike, I go away. Yeah, because I like to complete.
That turns people off. People like progress. I mean, at least like I think with Dead Cells and like Binding of Isaac and Enter the Gungeon, there's a certain modicum of progress, whereas like Spelunky, there's not.
Yeah.
So you just continue to suck at it. At least that's what I do.
I continue to be the biggest proponent of demos because of this, because I spent money on all three of these games, and it's games I feel like I'm glad I tried them, but ultimately, if I could have that money back into a game that I would love and admire, that would be time worth wasted or well worth used. So, oh well. Yeah. My biggest regret is I did not have enough time to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I did play it on the Google streaming Project Streaming app on the PC, which was pretty cool. But once they said your progression will not carry over, I stopped. And I said, I will play this elsewhere because I'm really digging it. And that's what I'll say. The game that surprised me, this would be it for me, that I would actually like Assassin's Creed game. So, and I will get back into that game. I bought it for $27 on Black Friday, and I'm going to be playing it on PS4 instead of PC. And it's fantastic. But my game of the year, and it was fairly close. I'd say 0.5 points separated my top game and the runner-up, which was Spider-Man. Spider-Man was the runner-up.
Okay.
I think they nailed it, and I'm so excited for the DLC. I will get it when it all comes out. But it's a game where I can definitely go back because I want those costumes. Damn it!
Yep.
And people are yelling at me because you don't have that costume yet. I'm like, yeah, I'm lame. Oh well. But great game. They told the best Spider-Man story I've ever read outside of or experienced outside of Kraven's Last Hunt. And for me, that's talking a lot because I've read a lot of Spider-Man stories. So for them to do that, present Spider-Man in a completely different way, just wrap it up and make that gameplay fantastic. I struggled with the traversal. I did better with the traversal in the old Spider-Man games, but it's because this game truly wants you to master it and be good at it. So I get it, but I loved it. And great game, but my number one game. And damn it, Jose, you took my thunder away. God of War. It sucks, but you know what? And I actually spoke to you guys about this game when I was on the podcast, and as Jose, as a dad, you probably had a lot of the same feelings during this game. Because,
I think that's one of the things that connected is that, I am a father of two and I have a son, and he kind of had some similarities there with the Trey, where he kind of like isn't sure about his dad and he kind of questions him, and and then at certain points he kind of gets a little attitude with
He
him.
becomes an arrogant prick.
Yeah.
Your son goes from that cute kid to the teenager that's an asshole.
Yeah. So
yeah. So I mean, it tugged at the heartstrings because a relationship with a son and his father is challenging at times. It's endearing at times. It's rewarding, and it's also like you don't always know what you're doing. And I kind of feel like Kratos being a single dad, which you don't see that story a lot either. A single dad. You see a lot of single moms, but a single dad. And oftentimes we'll ultimately look like fools. We don't know how to raise kids. And I'm not a single dad, thank God. Single dads out there, God Almighty, God bless you. It's hard. But that relationship and the way it evolved, and Kratos grew as a character, which you had never seen. I love the old God of War games, but to me it was more about panache and flair and craziness, badass, crazy. But I mean, he ran out of gods to kill, obviously. So, and the fact that they brought in gods that weren't just one note. I mean, God Almighty, the Norse gods, which is my favorite mythology. I'm Norwegian. The fact that they brought them and they made them very complex and challenging in relationships, and the fact that Freya, the decision she had to make with her son, even though she was willing to die at her son's hands in that relationship. And I thought Freya, that relationship you talked about, Matt, I thought that was going to go a certain way, and it didn't.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going to happen next. And that game, I expected I was going to explore all of those worlds and in that game, and I didn't. And it still was a huge game that had so much to do, and the storytelling in that game, and there's no wasted moment of that game. And I wish more games would do this. I mean, Zelda Breath of the Wild, that game is all about downtime and filling it with just whatever you want to do. But God Almighty, if Nintendo could ever tell a story 1/10 of good as this game in one of their games, it would be considered the greatest game of all time, because they kill mechanics, but storytelling I think is something they struggle with. So it's my game of the year. It definitely was. Sony for me nailed it this year, and quite honestly, this whole console generation, they're the only console maker to be making game of the year games almost every year. Microsoft doesn't. They make a great Forza, but they don't make other games that are great. And Nintendo has a game of the year every 10 or 20 years. They don't make games of the year every year. They make great games, but not games of the year.
I mean, I think like they're tentpole franchises. Like, if a new Mario game comes out, it's automatically a consideration.
Yes.
It's automatically a consideration, it seems, until it's actually released, because then you realize it is what it is. Like Odyssey and Breath of the Wild were two just game changers in a way that you do not expect from the first year of a console generation. And God of War, just to bring it all back, like it follows up Horizon as a Sony first party thing. You're just like, man, they did that.
Yeah.
Jeez. And I think it's a cool place for video games to be, like taking the personification of 13-year-old, power angst that God of War was for a long time, and making it kind of adult in a way that isn't just we're older now, we have responsibilities. Like, it sort of, especially when Atreus decides to become a little shit for about a third of the game. I think they deal with Kratos stepping in and be like, look, this is how you got to act, not the way you're doing it.
Well,
I think there was a way of telling you thank you for your patience.
Yeah. And if you think about the generation of PlayStation is kind of like grown out of its awkward years.
Yeah.
And now and we're growing up with PlayStation. Nintendo really didn't grow up with us. It just captures our childhood. But and maybe Microsoft will get there too. Well, they'll grow and make the games that are a little bit more broad thinking and aspirational, which I think they will do eventually. But I think Sony has gone that journey to get where they are now, because all of they were the badass, the kick-ass, the kid that's excited that he can say swear words and that he can see boobies and that fun stuff. And then he gets independent, edgy, and then now he's like, I'm maturing. I've read some cool books. I've seen some good movies. I have perspective.
Yes, I watch subtitled films now. I've read books without pictures.
Yes.
Like I mean, well, the funny thing while you were speaking there, I'm like, you know what? Maybe Nintendo really is Disney,
Mm-hmm.
and Sony is Pixar DreamWorks.
That's a.
Or
I would put with a little, with a little chemical X thrown in there.
hey,
Yeah, exactly.
you gotta have that chemical X.
Studio Leica. I call them like Leica.
Pardon me.
I call them like Studio Leica that makes the Coraline, the what's the other one, Kubo, and those type of movies.
But like Sony is trafficking in that space.
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah.
And then Xbox is. Xbox, it's weird. Like Xbox started a 2 generations ago as like in such a massive pole position, and I think they were so far ahead they lost their way, and now I mean hopefully with the moves that they've made, it becomes an interesting console race again because the next generation is going to be weird, but
oh yeah.
It should be one of the best ones because everybody's in a position. Will go into that next generation in a position of strength, which is fantastic. We haven't seen that before. Everybody's struggling. There's typically 2 struggling, and one is a leader. And I think Nintendo's getting strong. Microsoft is getting strong as well, and Sony hopefully is not going to make the mistake that typically
you will get a second job for PS5.
No.
So now that you guys have revealed your game of the year. Is there anything from 2019 you guys are looking forward to?
Man, there's so many good like stuff on the horizon. Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, Last of Us 2. Which I mean, we don't have any confirmed dates and stuff on some of those, but if they were to come next year, I don't know. I just can't pick one, man. I just love them all. It's such a great thing to be able to do is just to play games and delve into any kind of world, and to just narrow it down to just one and stuff. Like I don't know, man. I give them to me all of them. I want them all
in my face right now.
I have like 28
shut up
games.
And take my money.
I have like 28 games coming in 2019 that I'm like, I wish we're out this year because 2018 had some awesome games, but some disappointed me. Even in this list of games coming out that I've just and we're gonna get so many more new games that are announced even tonight at the Game Awards and then E3. I'm like, mighty, my life is going to just be full.
Yeah. Oddly enough, I'm actually super excited for next year's E3. Despite
you think Sony will be there?
No. I think they're going to make good, but I also want to see what, like, okay, Sony is the out and out leader this generation. This generation is coming to a close. Microsoft is basically handed a stage. Like,
do something.
It's you, man. You better, and like Phil Spencer. You better have a show. You better have something.
Oh yeah. They need a slam dunk, or they're gonna go down in flames.
I don't think they'll go down in flames just because
they got to show something, man.
But like, this is their chance to make a mark, both at the end of this generation, at the end at the inception of the next one.
Definitely.
So this is an opportunity. You better use it, or if you use it poorly, you're going to end up right where Don Matrick put you.
Well, there's so much goodwill towards Microsoft right now, which I'm glad they've got because they're building something. But you can only keep saying, well, they're doing so many good things. They got to put out some games that make you say the Xbox is the best place to play. And I know you can also play them on PC, but you just can't say it's another Gears, another Forza, because that's ultimately what we think is coming. So they got to put their money where their mouth is, and all these acquisitions they had aren't going to pay off for more years to begin. So Crackdown is definitely the one that we know is coming in 2019. And I think people are like, it's going to be okay. But once again, another Microsoft year that comes back past that says we aren't making the greatest games you can play. And that's, I'd say, if you have a console where you don't have the greatest games that you own, you've got to do something about it. They're going to do, but I don't think that's going to happen for another 2 to 3 years.
No,
which is a challenge.
I mean, they bought who'd they buy? In Exile and Obsidian, as well as Ninja Theory, and the guys who do State of Decay.
State of Decay, Ninja
and
Theory.
They actually bought Forza.
We Happy Few, that studio as well.
Like In Exile, Obsidian, and the We Happy Few studio and Ninja Theory, if they're working on anything for a Microsoft console, that's 2 years.
Yeah.
Obsidian and In Exile is probably 3. The Forza, we know there's something coming out next year. Spoiler alert, because something comes out every year. But if you want to compete, you need games. And I feel like the only positive thing you can really say about the Xbox is that it has the best backwards compatible library
ever.
And the only reason you can say that is because Nintendo doesn't have one.
No.
And
nope, they killed it.
Sure, a lot of these great Wii U games are coming to Switch and people are actually fucking playing them. But like that'll only get them so far. And they still haven't brought all the best ones yet. Like they haven't brought Mario Maker. They haven't brought Wonderful 101. They haven't brought other stuff that I can't name right off the top of my head.
The fashion the idle game. What is it? The idle game by
Nope, that's not it.
No.
I promise you that's not it. I mean, like I think they should bring Super Mario 3D World to Switch, just because Super Mario 3D World was a great game. But I mean, you know, I'm a Dark Souls, Bloodborne fan, so I'm looking most forward to Sekiro. I just want to play that game.
Is that a Todd game, Matt?
No, that is not.
It looks cool as hell, though.
It does. It really does.
Looks cool as hell with the grappling hook. I still thought that was what was it? What was the one ninja game back in the day?
Tenchu.
Yes, I thought it was Tenchu.
Yeah.
The first.
Yes. Todd, I'll just give you just a tiny bit. Don't ever buy a From Software game. I can almost.
I liked Bloodborne. I really did. I'm just not very good at it.
3D Game Heroes, and that's
Oh God, why isn't that game on the Switch?
Right, right. That game is
but awesome. I did like Bloodborne.
Okay.
But I just realized I just am not a man enough to go further than after the first boss. I just know I'm like, it's scary. It's a scary game.
And that game traffics in horror in really weird ways. It's not.
I love the environment. I love the way it looks. But when I got to that one boss who turns into like a werewolf, I'm like, oh, I'm done.
There's like, oh crap! That was is that the second boss?
He's too good for me. I know my Father Cagliaristo or whatever.
Is that the first boss you fought?
That was the second boss, right?
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure because the Cleric Beast, which everyone usually fights first, is actually not the first boss. Gascoigne usually is.
The Cleric boss then. Yeah.
Yeah. The way that they structured that game is they wanted Gascoigne to be first, but everyone found their way to the Cleric Beast because map design. Yeah. Okay, so I think we've covered everything I set out to cover. You guys have anything you want to chat about for a little bit, or you want to just go watch those Game Awards?
Well, I mean, what more can we say? 2018 was a great year. You know, God of War was great. Red Dead was great.
Mm-hmm. Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Man, I loved that game. It was such a good treat, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a good treat. You know, it wasn't the greatest game ever, but just because it was Spider-Man, you know, it just satisfied that itch that we've been waiting for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It was like super fun to play, you know, swinging around. The swinging felt awesome.
Yeah, this is really the first year that Nintendo had a system where there was not a noticeable lack of games, despite them only putting out a few of their own games, which I think is phenomenal. So I give them credit for really getting people onto that console, because people raved about the Square game. They had
Octopath Traveler.
Octopath Traveler, all the games that came out that have been other places, and now they're there, and they're even getting exclusive indies, like with Hollow Knight first. And it's like, kudos to Nintendo, because they took the page from Sony with the PS4 and they ran with it, and that was smart. They rewarded their players, because they're Nintendo fans now that have never owned another console, that are finally experiencing games that are excellent, that don't have the big N on them.
Yeah, it's the Nintendo seal of quality without being Nintendo. It's real weird.
Exactly.
It's real weird.
Right.
I mean, the fact that they got into the breach, like, how did that happen? But yeah, that's a surprising game too. Like chess with mechs, it's crazy. But yeah, I don't really have anything to add. I feel like we've done a good job discussing your guys' thoughts. So yeah, let's go watch the Game Awards. My name is Matthew Keel. This has been a B-side, some Game of the Year with friends. There will be another one of these to go up amidst Nerds Gone Rogue's Game of the Year content. Jose, the man that James Coburn and The Right Stuff aspired to be his entire life. Where can we find you, sir?
You can find me on Instagram, Cinco20, CINCOTWOZERO. Same on Twitter. Don't really use that much. And PSN. That's where I mostly game. I have a PC too, but PS4. So that's if you want to play games with me, that's where you find me. Exactly. Yeah. So find me there. Shoot me an invite, whatever. I'm down to play with anybody.
Cool. Todd.
Well, I would say good to meet you, Jose. I've never really met you in person, so good to meet another cool dude. Excellent.
Where can we find you, sir?
Where can you find me? I'm on Twitter at TOxter, but don't go there. At Secret Friends U is on Twitter.
Yeah,
We're on
Todd on Twitter is a real dick.
Oh God, I know what I do. I'm old man Oxtra. I yell at companies to actually fix shit that happens that they do to me. So yes, don't go there. But I'm at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Me and my buddy Charlie, we do a podcast all about comic book, science fiction, fantasy, etc., and a little bit of games once in a while. And we're on Facebook. We have a group there. If you like to talk about DC versus Marvel, that's where we lie. Secret Friends United. Go there and you can join the fun there. So that's where we lie.
And go to that Facebook group and just start saying incorrect things about Star Trek.
Oh, we love it.
Angry.
I love it.
That'll be fun. Let's go on there. Captain Kirk really sucked at Star Trek The Next Generation. Am I right? And finally, my name is Matthew Keel. You can find me at infinite_rewind on every social media platform I choose to accept. That's Twitter, Instagram. That's my PSN name as well. I don't have an Xbox. I think that's actually my Steam name too, but I haven't signed into that ever. But I logged on because why not? You can find the main show, Nerds Gone Rogue, every Monday at 7 a.m. This will go up on a Friday at 7 a.m. because I'm putting it out as a B-side. It's one of our Game of the Year B-sides. So stay tuned in the super near future for more Nerds Gone Rogue Game of the Year 2018 content. We'll see you later. Thank you for stopping by. Until our next show, we love you. Banana and out.